What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to the channel. In this one, we got something special for you. The college basketball coach is actually going to break down a little bit of basketball for you. So my idea with this is, preseason started up, and there were some especially interesting games last night that I wanna take a look into. So I figured we'd take a look at some box scores, watch some highlights of games, and we can just kind of talk about everything that happened last night. First game here, Brooklyn Nets versus Los Angeles Lakers. First thing that stood out to me was the starting lineup for the Nets. Ben Simmons was included in it. It's preseason, people only playing so many minutes, but while he was in there, he was effective, right? He didn't take any threes, that's okay, but he got to the free throw line a couple of times, went 4 for 6 from the field. His plus minus was whatever. We don't care about that right now, and he's still getting his assists, keeping turnovers low, all things like that. Great game. Cam Thomas got his minutes, right? Put up points as he always does. Cam Thomas, I would assume, is not going to be a starter for the entire season because Cam Johnson did not play for whatever reason last night, and Cam Johnson will probably slide into that spot. Looking at the rest of the Nets lineup for this year, I think the big thing is going to be the backup big man minutes. Deron Sharp is probably who's going to be playing backup center for them this year, and that's probably their weakest spot at this point is that backup center spot because they've got plenty of backup wings on this team. Cam Thomas is going to be one. Dorian Finney-Smith is awesome. Lonnie Walker's awesome. Royce O'Neal's awesome, and I say awesome as in being role players, right? Those are the type of guys that you want to help fill out a star-studded team. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Brooklyn moves one, two, maybe even three of these guys just because they're not at a point of contention right now. Maybe they think that they can really build around a McCall Bridges, a Cam Johnson, a Nick Claxton. Maybe Ben Simmons is that dude this year, and they just need the role players to help them facilitate a competent offense. But I would be surprised if they didn't try to move those guys. One of the big questions for this year for them as well is going to be Dennis Smith Jr. here. Presumably will play some backup point guard minutes for them this year. Dennis Smith Jr. kind of had a nice little resurgence with Charlotte. It's a shame because Dennis Smith had such a great start to his career with Dallas, and he went to New York, and New York just completely ruined him, right? So hopefully he's back on the right track within competent organizations again. But let's move down to New York, or not New York, Los Angeles, excuse me, who everybody's a little more interested in. And they rolled out a lineup that I wasn't exactly expecting. The Austin Reeves, Torian Prince starting. Were they missing somebody that would have otherwise started? Oh yeah, I would have assumed Hachimura would have started at like the 4 or something like that. I guess as LeBron gets older, maybe they'd rather him guard 4s as opposed to 3s. But I don't know. I thought that was interesting because I don't think Torian Prince really gives you like that much better defense than maybe a Hachimura could. But this Los Angeles Lakers team looks really, really solid. Like having Jackson Hayes as a backup center, he's got so much talent. He just really needs to unlock it and be in a place where he can focus up. And we all know LeBron James won't allow anything but that. Otherwise, they'll get traded, right? Gabe Vincent, a huge addition, right? Christian Wood's a big addition. I'm sure we're going to see Max Christie probably get a couple more minutes this year since they lost. Like Malik Beasley got moved and stuff like in the middle of the season last year, but I feel like he'll kind of serve as that kind of a secondary ball handler role, things like that, coming off maybe some floppy action here or there, trying to get up some threes. He did not shoot well from 3 in this one, but I think it'll come back around. Oh, you know what? The other guy they were missing was Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt probably gets a start sometimes. I'm going to assume that they kind of use him and Hachimura as kind of a starter by necessity. And what I mean by that is, hey, if we're playing a team that has a really dominant wing or something, right, and we just really need lockdown defender out there, maybe they're going against Phoenix or something like that, so they just really want to throw Jared Vanderbilt out on Kevin Durant, something like that, whereas maybe they're playing a team like the Nets, right, something like that, and they want just a little more scoring punch. I would bet they go with a guy like Hachimura. X factors for this team this year, obviously Anthony Davis health. How good is LeBron James still this year? I'm not going to say LeBron's going to fall off some cliff or anything like that, but obviously he's the oldest player in the NBA at this point. You expect some sort of drop off, but that's where hopefully guys like D'Angelo Russell and Austin Reeves can come in this year. You see Austin Reeves, he gets a lot more ball handling responsibilities now. He's so good at navigating the pick and roll. It's so satisfying for me to watch as a coach. He just has such a good pace about going through it, snaking, doing all those things, making the right pass, and having guys like Anthony Davis and Jackson Hayes that can rim run with you while you're navigating that pick and roll is only going to add to it. And Christian Wood as well is very capable of rolling to the rim and going up and getting that basketball. Switching over now to the film side of things, by the way, shout out House of Highlights over here. Y'all should go check them out. This is where I watch like all of my just like 8-minute like snippets. How did the game go last night? Gives you a little bit of a feel of it. You know, I don't have time to watch entire games anymore, but they don't need a shout out for me, but I felt inclined to do so. So this is one of those first possessions where we see Ben Simmons really, they gave him some space and he actually went and attacked. He went off the right this time. I'm one of those believers that Ben Simmons actually is a right-handed basketball player, but someone forced him to be a left-handed basketball player at some point, but doesn't matter too much now. So one thing I want to note here, it looks like the Nets want to play a lot of drop with Claxton, which is interesting because look at this. The Lakers run the same play twice in a row, get the same result out of it. For whatever reason, Claxton playing the drop there. Now, Nick Claxton, the reason he was so interesting the past couple of years is that he was kind of able to go out and guard those guys on the perimeter. He's one of the better bigs at switching with things. And, you know, this lineup, the switchability of it is there between Ben Simmons, Spencer Dinwiddie's a bit bigger, McCall Bridges can guard just about everybody. So pretty interesting to see Claxton in the drop there. I think this backup rotation for the Lakers of Gabe Vincent, Christian Wood could be so interesting here with this pick and roll, right? Like in this possession, obviously AD gets a corner look here, and that's, I mean, we'll take that. But look at the switch that Brooklyn does end up doing there. So, you know, they are still open to switching, but you get that look there of Christian Wood down low. You can have Bron cutting back door here, things like that. Just having Christian Wood being able to pop or roll just does so much for the offense. Looks like we got Ben Simmons getting out in transition now again. Good to see the fella flying up and down the court a little bit. Normally used to seeing a little more speed than that, but we take it nonetheless. Again, they tried to go under and drop in these coverages, which is weird to me because I know Jackson Hayes is there, but you could still have Ben Simmons as a help defender there. So I'm a little curious defensively what Brooklyn is trying to do there. I just had to point this play out. Hachimura with the Luke Cornett defense there, trying to get a contest from all the way under the rim. So they drop on Ben again, and I love that he's just taking it. He's like, okay, this is the Zion Williamson approach, right, where teams will sag on Zion, but you can't necessarily do that either because he's so big and so fast and so good at finishing that if you give him a running start, you're asking for disaster as well. So you can't just completely sag all the way down into the restricted area. This last play I want to take a look at for the Lakers is kind of interesting to me as well. So look at this. We got Jackson Hayes spacing in the corner right now. I don't care what his percentage is or anything like that. That's like, yeah, you see Claxton completely helping off there, which is where he should be. I'd be more interested to see Jackson Hayes in kind of a dunker spot there so that Claxton has to stay a little bit closer to him. But this is where you see the benefit of Ben Simmons, right, and the defense that he brings. He's one of the best perimeter defenders in the NBA. If he's healthy, gets that steal, he's able to make that outlook pass. Phenomenal basketball. All right, on to the next game. The Celtics and Knicks played. The Celtics, you know, they had played earlier in the week. We saw how good Porzingis looked with the team. Drew Holiday was really making things move, wasn't going for buckets as much. And shout out Peyton Pritchard for getting a new contract. I'm assuming that Pritchard got that contract because they saw in the offseason he was looking really solid, and they were like, hey, this is one of the few probably quality bench pieces that we actually have going into this season, so let's lock him up now before he explodes a little bit in value. Looking at other possible sleepers for the Celtics here, I think Delano Banton ends up getting some decent minutes for them because, one, he's another ball handler that can also play on the wing. I think that he's a guy that can provide some of that switchability that they like to do, right? A little bit different look out there, but a wing that can initiate some offense. He's taller. He can get the passes over guys, things like that. I'd be really curious to see like a Banton, Kristaps Porzingis pick and roll being ran. Svi Mikhailuk is another guy that could end up being something. He's a guy that we've seen stuff out of in the NBA before, but he probably just has to find that role. More interestingly, the Knicks, they rolled out the lineup that we figured, the Brunson, Grimes, RJ Barrett, Robinson, Randall. There were some rumors that Robinson might get moved or whatever, but they would require a couple first-round picks. What I found really interesting was the amount of minutes here for Jericho Sims, who hasn't had a ton of burn in the NBA up to this point. He's a crazy, crazy athlete. He's another one of those Texas centers that comes in, can run, jump, and dunk. That's what they love out there. Emmanuel Quickly, Dante DiVincenzo, you know that those are very big bench players for them. Those are very high-level scorers and high-level IQ players, more specifically. What's going to be interesting for them is who kind of takes that backup, like, wing/forward position now that Obi Toppin's gone for them. It looks like they're kind of trying to do a Jericho Sims and Hartenstein rotation, which I don't really know how modern of basketball that is. Looking at their did not plays, though, they do still have Josh Hart, who I'm guessing probably, he'll swap into the lineup for Quentin Grimes, but Quentin Grimes still doesn't really take that wing role, so that's probably a point of weakness for them is, taller defensive wings. RJ Barrett's really the only one on the roster currently, unless they really want to give Fournier some minutes. He's really unhappy in New York, but that's where he is, and his contract's pretty untradeable at the moment. All right, getting into this film now of them, or more so the highlights, I should say. Looking to see RJ Barrett really take a step this year. I think New York fans would probably agree with me. It's hard to find ball handling responsibilities when you've got guys like Randall that want the ball so much. Brunson, you don't want to take the ball out of his hand. DiVincenzo's going to have the ball. But if RJ can take that next step, I feel like that's really the key for the Knicks to progress a little bit further in the playoffs. But man, Brunson is just so tough. His change of direction and his balance are things that interest me so much with those guards. A lot of times people look for guards that can hit high volume threes. They're so quick, right? They're so crafty. But the ability to stop and go is still the biggest thing in basketball. Here's Peyton Pritchard here. Sam Hauser out there too could be another guy for them, just more so as a floor spacer. But, oh, stop it. Luke Cornett cannot be catching lobs out here. I refuse. Yeah, Brunson just does it all for them. Brunson, without a doubt, is their best player. Now, he might have the best contract in the NBA at this point. We all thought he was an overpay at first, but Brunson he does so much for them. He's one of the better point guards in the NBA, and I mean, just look at this. Look at the way he's navigating that, and he threw it right up to... That's knowing that Luke Cornett's on the court and you have Mitchell Robinson, right? That's basic math saying my guy can jump higher than your guy. This pick and roll here is so unstoppable because you have a guy like Brunson that can navigate it so well. You got a guy like Robinson that's rolling, and obviously Luke Cornett's not the best guy to try and guard that action, but that's still going to be a tough thing for people to guard most nights. We saw there Julius Randle still getting his isolations. He really likes to go to those. It'll be interesting to see if they can incorporate Randle at all into any more, fluid offensive sets, because I don't feel like there's necessarily a way in his game to do that always. We see a guy here running for the Celtics in Neemias Queta, who, the Celtics really need another true backup center. Luke Cornett's actually on the roster. I think Queta's a two-way maybe this year. I don't quite remember. But I think he kind of serves the purpose of a run, jump, and dunk and block shot center. And, he's got the size, 7 foot. I'd love to see a way for them to get him into the rotation a little more. I truly think he has the potential to be a rotational NBA player. See, this is an example here of what I was saying, how Julius Randle, his whole, offensive game in the NBA is purely isolation. And, players like that, there is a spot for it, but I also think that there's a cap then on how good you can be as a team when, theoretically your first or second leading scorer is an isolation player. We see that with James Harden, right? He can just only take a team so far. As soon as the playoffs come and you have time to game plan for that, it becomes a lot easier to stop than in the regular season. And they have got Peyton Pritchard just pulling right now. He's playing like he just got a big contract. Yeah, apparently he was really working in the offseason, so glad to see that he got paid. So this is an action that I want to draw some attention to that I was talking about with Delano Banton, right, being a ball handler. So what you're going to see here is kind of a sideways Spain action, if you will. I'm trying to keep it a little simpler now. So what you're going to see is the double pick, right? Banton gets around it. You'd like to see him stick a little bit closer to his man so that I'll back it up just a little bit. What you want to see him is get a little bit tighter to the actual screener. Y'all should really be brushing hips there. And see, RJ Barrett already knows where it's going. Sam Hauser probably could just like slip that and get some action moving, but they're then going to get a guy like Keita rolling to the rim. You need two guys to stop Banton because he's long, right? And they can't recover quick enough on his layup. Keita's there to clean up the miss. I think that there's a lot of room for growth with Banton there, and I think it gives them a different look. Like, having a ball handler of that size just does a lot for him, and if you have a rim runner like Keita, I don't know. I just think it could be something. Quentin Grimes has just one of the best-looking shooting forms. That was one of my specialties with coaching, was correcting shooting forms, making things like that, and man, he's just absolutely perfect. I just love it. RJ Barrett's looks pretty good, too. Love getting the feet set, squaring up to the rim, things like that. Ooh, Banton pulling up from three. I was about to say, no, he's not much of a shooter, and that's the problem with him, right? He's a big ball handler, but obviously he's not a Ben Simmons type where he just doesn't shoot at all. But I wouldn't say the shot's really all that part of the game. And we're gonna end off here just because we got to see one more Luke Kornet dunk. I can't. I don't know why he's still on a roster. Still, like, I'm not saying he's like that bad or anything like that, but hey, fair enough. Good for Luke Kornet. Go get your bread. All right, the game you guys have been waiting for, the Spurs versus Thunder, the Battle of Unicorns. The big one here, Victor Wembanyama, right? Came out playing the 4, actually, surprising enough, and he looked athletic enough to do so. They went and started Zach Collins again, who I still struggle to understand how he's a starting NBA center, but the Spurs don't have many other better options, and I guess they figure they'd rather him be more of a help defender, which you see a lot of in this game. He's actually, like, surprisingly good at not just being like a help rim defender, but like kind of a middle of the paint defender as well. The other things to think of with their lineup, I wouldn't be surprised if Wembanyama still moves to the center because they didn't have Sohan playing last night, and he presumably is a starter still regarding how well he played this year. And then Julian Champagne, who I would assume still comes off the bench. He's been a high volume scorer in the G League and Summer League games, and they gave him a decent little contract extension this year, so it'd be interesting to see what kind of bench minutes he gets for them. But Keldon Johnson, their typical leading scorer, will fall back into that 3 spot for them. As far as bench goes for the Spurs, it's really like, it's not that bad. Branham is a mid-range Casanova, if you will. Chetty Osman's got a lot of NBA experience. He can really shoot. He can handle the ball a little bit. Doug McDermott just having a quality, 6'8" guy that can really shoot the 3 ball helps them a lot. I assume like a Blake Wesley kind of plays the backup point guard role, but the point guard position is definitely where they're weakest. Trey Jones is a very quality player, but after that, it falls off completely. Devontae Graham is nothing more than a high-volume shooter at points, so that's definitely something to watch with them. Someone that did surprise me a little bit in some of the initial film I watched was Charles Bassey, who's probably going to be their backup center. If Zach Collins doesn't kind of fill that role, I guess, when Sohan comes back. A lot more athletic than I thought he would be. He was pretty active around the rim. So hopefully we see some growth out of him there. As far as the Thunder goes, no Shea tonight. So Cason Wallace, the rookie, got the start. Didn't really do a whole ton. He was pretty effective defensively, though. What was interesting was seeing Jalen Williams in his second year, right? That's another guy that the Thunder have that we just think, man, this guy's got so much talent. So much talent. Excuse me. Chet Holmgren, then. I'll be honest with you. Coming into the NBA, I was like, I don't know how he translates. I don't. He's so small in terms of frame. Like, I don't care about guys coming into the NBA being skinny, but the frame worries me. Man, he's so athletic at his size, it just doesn't matter. And he's able to do so much for them offensively. I can't wait to see how they get it figured out. The bench, obviously, for OKC is a little more up there. Ousmane Dieng is going to be his second season. Honestly, haven't seen much of him, even both in like pre-NBA and NBA. Just haven't seen much of him. Isaiah Joe, Very, very quality bench player in the sense that he's just a knockdown shooter, right? This Jalen Williams doesn't really do it for me very much. I know he got a lot of starter minutes last year out of necessity and everything, but I don't know what he's going to do against really quality NBA bigs because he's not very athletic. Yes, he can step out and shoot a little bit, but between his height and his lack of athleticism, I don't know what his ceiling is. But yeah, really excited to see the lineups that they throw out there. I mean, they're so backwards with their tall guards and their small wings on this team, and then a unicorn in the middle. It's such an interesting starting lineup. All right, let's get into the highlights of this game. This is what we really want to see, right, at the end of the day. Just seeing the height of Wembanyama against other people is so nuts to me. Jalen Williams was really a focal point of this game, and just the ability to attack the rim. He's got such good ball handling, passing skills for someone his size. I think there's something to say in basketball that they're going to be able to throw out in their starting lineup 3 guys between Shea, Giddey, and Williams who are just like really above average ball handlers. I think you can really get your offense moving, especially up and down the court in transition when you've got guys like this. We get our first instance of Chet right here, changing directions midair. Obviously, it's just Trey Jones in front of him, but a big being able to really change direction midair, things like that is really special. And that's height right there on Wembanyama getting his first bucket for him. And Wembanyama here sends Dorcher Chamber into the stands, and he's just tall. You know what? Let's just watch this one where he just straight up bullies Chet. I know he got headbutt and everything, but you know what? He got low. He got to the rim. Let's go back and see this again because we need to appreciate him being 7'4", 7'5", putting the ball on just a string right there. You know, one of the reasons it's so uncommon for big men to be such good dribblers is, you know, to be a good dribbler, you usually want to keep the ball pretty low so you can change the direction often enough. But he's able to get it so low because he's so flexible. It's so interesting to me. And Chet showing off his spacing already. The form looks really pure. It looks really pure. And that's going to space him out for guys like Shea, Giddey, and Jalen Williams who want to get to the rim. I'm so excited to see it. And there's just the freakish dunk by Wembanyama. And, you know, we can watch the dunk all we want, but what I want to show here is him getting a hand in there and disrupting that. This is what I was talking about. Like, he really, when he's out on the perimeter, he goes three-point line past to guard his guys a lot of the time, which is so interesting. And he's still able to recover and get back in and help in the middle there. Chet here, just getting to the rim, being strong. Love to see it. Great control. Chet going to work again. That's just Zach Collins not being a very good basketball player, in all honesty. That's such shitty effort. But, you know, I just don't see that high of a future for Zach Collins, in all honesty. It's where you see Doug McDermott just outworking people. These are the things that you love out of guys like Doug McDermott. They just know that they just got to keep fighting for space. It's going to wear guys like Jalen Williams out, having to run and follow them all game. Chetty Osman here again, being able to put the ball in the rack a little bit, being a little bit bigger wing. Things like that, just having big wings, it goes such a long way. This is one of those plays where I was talking about with Bassie, where I just haven't watched a ton of him, but like his athleticism like really surprised me here. I kind of saw him as more of like a big clunky center, but like no, like pretty quick reflexes and everything, getting the ball up. This is another little thing with Wembanyama here, where you're seeing him just being able to get his hand in, and obviously that's a crazy finish there. I couldn't see exactly who that was, but the fact that he can just get hands in there is so interesting to me. He's going to disrupt a lot of things just being able to do that. And here we have Wembanyama again. Just, that's so nuts to me. That's so crazy. I was watching that live last night. Like, come on, run it back for me real quick. Like, look at this. He's up. This is a 7'4" man up right here. And he just said, let me just glaze you right off the rim with the left. That's nuts. Most guards aren't accomplishing that. Victor Wembanyama is going to be so good. It's not even funny. And then Chet as well. It's going to be a battle between these two. These two might be demons going against each other for years because we've got shit like this where he can just sidestep into a three. He's never going to see a contest in his life. I don't mean to pick on Zach Collins here, but look at this. He is just guarding nobody out there. I don't understand what his role is completely. Getting to see a play from the young fella here, Cason Wallace, one of their first round picks, getting up a little bit. I was shocked by that. I see him as another guy that's more his potential. Oh, let's talk about that real quick. Actually, I'm sorry, Cason Wallace, but seeing a 7-1 guy just go up and get it like that on Zach Collins. Sorry, Zach Collins, is just nuts, and that's something that OKC didn't have last year, right? Which someone like Shea is really going to be able to use, is having a guy like, oh my God, Jalen Williams. There's too many highlights happening too quickly, but having a guy like Chet to rim run with them is something that they didn't have last year. And I'm very curious to see when they're trying to figure out how to stop Shea from getting his little mid-range jumpers that they want so much, and they're also trying to follow Chet to the rim. Shea could be in for an MVP type season with having an asset like this. And let's appreciate this sequence here by Jalen Williams. Just absolute bully ball. Get to the rim. He's so strong for his age. And then right back, give me that block. Cason Wallace getting out and running, getting it to Giddey. Here, going to Dort. And again, nobody boxing out, just gets right up and in. We'll show Zach Collins a little bit of love here before we get going. Zach Collins spacing out a little bit. Lazy defense by Chet. I don't think I've ever seen Davis Bertans take just like a straight up three-pointer. It's always fading. He's always running off the screens. I love it. Here's Kenny Hustle finding Bertans again. Fades a little bit. Bucket. Man, he can spray, though. He can absolutely spray. We're going to get it again to Bertans? Okay. A Bertans three-peat. So yeah, that's probably where we're going to end things today. I know I didn't necessarily provide a ton of like X's and O's, things like that. I don't really know if that's my place to necessarily say, but just wanted to talk some preseason with y'all, see if y'all liked these more just like reactionary, watching basketball, get some insights on lineups, things like that, how players maybe work together, things like that. Y'all let me know what you think in the comments. If you don't like it, let me know. I'm not afraid of criticism, anything like that. And if you do like it, great. Otherwise, thanks so much, you guys, for watching. Really appreciate the love I've been getting and everything. Thanks for the 50 subscribers. Took us only a month. That's pretty solid. That was my 1-year goal. So, yeah, hope y'all have a good one. Thanks so much.